My name is Alex, and I never planned to tell anyone this story. Not because it's too unbelievable, but because there's nothing beautiful in it. Nothing mystical or symbolic. Only cold, silence, and the realization of how easily a human mind can crack when a shadow stands too close for too long. But if I don't tell it, then everything that happened loses even the slightest meaning. And I need it to mean something. Anything. This story begins with my friend, Mark. We've known each other almost our whole lives. When we were 10, we built forts in the snow, threw snowballs at neighbors' windows, and ran through dark stairwells pretending ghosts lived there. It's funny how childhood darkness feels like a game, while adult darkness feels like a threat. Mark was never an easy person to understand. He was always a little aside. In school, he sat in the back row, quiet, never interrupting anyone, listening to pointless arguments with the detachment of someone who'd rather be elsewhere. But when he did speak, it was always something precise, something right. He never drifted. He simply walked his own path. And for some reason, I always felt like walking behind him. 4 years ago, his father died, a quiet, withdrawn man who'd spent most of his life working night shifts as a security guard. After that, Mark became even more closed off. But even then, I couldn't break the connection with him. Too many shared years, too much common ground. And then, last December 31st, when the whole city was drowning in pre-holiday chaos, I received a message from him. Come over tonight. It's important. Before midnight. Those 4 words made something twist unpleasantly inside me. Mark never wrote, "It's important." He rarely put emotion into text at all. Usually it was, "Come by if you're around," or "I'm home if anything." But this felt like a command. I went. The courtyard outside his building was dark and empty. Snow fell in thick flakes, muffling every sound. Almost all the windows were already glowing. People inside their warm apartments, opening champagne, watching New Year specials. And I was walking toward a friend who, by the sound of it, was in serious trouble. The elevator was broken, as usual. The stairwell smelled of wet rags and old paint. When I knocked on his door on the 4th floor, it opened almost immediately, as if he'd been standing right behind it. He didn't look bad, but he looked like someone who hadn't slept for several nights. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, hair messy, and the kind of wandering gaze people get when they constantly expect someone to appear around the corner. He wore only a thin t-shirt and sweatpants, not exactly winter clothes. Either he didn't feel the cold, or he simply didn't notice it. "Come in," he said, and walked into the room without another word. No smile. No "good to see you." I followed him. His apartment was different. Not dirty. Mark was too meticulous for that. But nervous. Newspapers scattered across the table. Boxes on the floor. An old TV taken apart near the window. As if he had been searching for something and couldn't find it. Or throwing things out that didn't belong. Mark sat at the table, clasped his hands, stayed silent for a long time, and then finally said, "Alex, I need to tell you everything, so I'm not alone when it starts." I frowned. "What starts?" "Just listen," he said. "If you want to leave after, I won't stop you." I nodded, and he began. Everything below is what he told me, word for word. I remember it far too well. On December 24th, he was walking home from work. The heavy snow shut down most of the buses. It was late, nearly night. The courtyards were empty. The street lights lit only narrow strips of snow. That's when he first heard the chime, a thin metallic sound, like someone tapping a spoon against a glass. He turned around. Nobody. Snow absorbs everything. He kept walking. The sound repeated. Closer. Mark sped up, and then he noticed a small package on a bench near his building, wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine, and on the paper, written in black marker, Mark. He froze, looked around. No footprints, no people, nothing. Just the package, completely dry, as if placed there seconds ago. He took it inside and opened it. Inside was a small metallic sphere, slightly larger than a walnut. Silver-colored, the surface covered with microscopic scratches, almost like engraving. Mark tried to make out the pattern, but it was too fine to read. The sphere was cold. Not winter metal cold, colder, as if it had no temperature at all. He set it on the shelf and went to bed. At 3 a.m., a chime woke him up. He turned on the light. The sphere was lying on the floor. He placed it back carefully, convinced he'd put it securely before. The next morning, it was on the table. That evening, near the door. Later, on the windowsill. Always at night. Always accompanied by that faint metallic sound, as if something inside it was moving, or tapping, and the scratches on its surface began to change. At first, random lines. Then, symbols resembling numbers. A day later, Mark realized they were dates. 25, 26, 27, 28. Counting upward. The final date read, December 31st. "Do you understand?" Mark asked me, his voice trembling slightly. It was counting. "Who?" I asked. He shook his head. I thought it was a joke, or stress. But then things escalated. The lights in his building's hallway burned out one by one. Someone ripped out the mailboxes on the first floor. Twice, long parallel scratches appeared on his door, as if made by a knife. At night, he heard footsteps inside the wall. Not above, not below. Inside the wall. Slow, deliberate movement, like a hand brushing against concrete. Then one night, someone knocked on his door at 3 a.m., softly, twice. He didn't open. In the morning, a new package was on his doormat, empty. And this continued until the night before I came. "Alex," he said, leaning forward. "Last night, at exactly 3, I got a call. No caller ID. I answered, and I heard breathing. Close. Too close. I turned off the phone. But when I lay back down, I heard the same breathing inside the room, next to the bed." He stopped. "And you think," I began. "I know," he interrupted sharply, "that it's connected to that thing, and that everything ends tonight. Or begins." Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out the sphere. I jerked slightly. It was so cold that even the air around it felt different. The scratches now displayed. 31, 12, 23, or 59. "See?" he whispered. "It shows the time now. It's counting down." "It could be." "Alex," he said harshly. "You do know I'm not insane, right?" Before I could answer, a faint, almost inaudible chime sounded, and the sphere shifted in his hand. Everything after that happened too fast. Something passed by the window, not footsteps, a shadow. Then a door slammed somewhere in the building. Nobody should have been entering. Neighbors were all home for the holiday. The chime grew louder, sharper, like it was inside the room. Mark clenched the sphere until his knuckles went white. "He's here." "Who?" I whispered. Mark looked at me, and for the first time in our entire friendship, I saw raw fear in his eyes. The one I owe. He stood up, walked toward the door, and suddenly I understood. He was going to open it. I jumped up and grabbed his shoulder. "What are you doing? Don't open it!" He barely reacted. His hand was already on the lock. The chime intensified. The windows rattled. "Mark!" I shouted. He turned to me, and I realized he wasn't really seeing me anymore. He was listening to someone else. He opened the door. On the threshold lay a new package, the same brown paper, the same twine. But this time, the package was moving. Something inside was scratching softly. Mark took a step forward. "Alex," he said quietly. "Thanks for coming. Really. Stop. Don't touch it. It's too late." He lifted the package. The chime stopped. And instantly, the lights in the entire apartment went out. Complete darkness. Silence, except for breathing. Not Mark's. Someone else's. I couldn't see anything, but I heard Mark step backward. And then, a sharp, broken inhale, like someone grabbed him. He started, but his voice was cut off abruptly. I lunged forward, tripping over a box, hitting my leg on the table. And then, a deafening metallic roar sounded, like thousands of tiny metal balls hitting the floor at once. The lights flicked back on. I was alone. Mark was gone. The door stood wide open. On the floor lay a torn package. Empty. The sphere lay by my foot. Only one line was visible now. The police searched for him for a week. Courtyards, rooftops, stairwells, basements. Nothing. Neighbors said they heard chiming. Someone claimed they'd seen a man in the hall. But the building had no cameras. Too old. I told the detective everything. He listened, then gave me the look you give someone who needs psychological help. I declined. And the sphere, it disappeared that same night. From the kitchen, from the windowsill, from the drawer. Gone. I never saw it again. But sometimes, especially in winter, especially at night, when I can't sleep and snow is falling outside the window, I hear a chime, somewhere far away, and sometimes, right next to me. And then it feels like Mark is standing in the hallway, waiting for me to open the door.